Well, good evening, everybody. Once again, this is Bob Van Buren, and you're tuned into the Van Buren Variety Show. Glad you're here, not only to those that have been here for the long time that have followed me through all these episodes, but also to our newcomers here. We do have some newbies on, so I want to welcome you all to the show, and glad you're here. As always, we have an interesting guest and a very equally interesting topic tonight, so glad you're all here. And for all you newbies out there that hasn't seen this show, you got to hit that subscribe button. What was that? What does that do? Well, that informs you of future guests and future episodes. Normally, this show is broadcast every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Time, and that's 8 p.m. Eastern Time for you guys on the East. And so, okay, we'll do 5 p.m. on the West Coast. I don't want to leave them out either. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you missed the live show, don't worry about it. We'd love to have you live, but if not, click on the videos tab. When you click on the Van Buren Variety Show, videos tab will show you all the episodes in numerical order, what we've done so far. So you can definitely catch it later on your own time. If you have a question for me, always leave a comment down below. That really helps. And just don't watch this video. If you really like it, there is that like button. You know, pick that like button. I would really appreciate it, as well as my guests. So glad you're all here. Hope you've had a great week so far. I've had kind of a good week until a few days ago. One of my pet peeves is to drive to work on the highway and say the speed limit is 70 miles per hour. We'll just say 70. Sometimes it's 60 in some other states and cities, but 70 in this case. And I get behind someone, this has happened more than once, and they're doing 55 in the left lane. And I'm sorry, yes, that's probably the worst thing that ever happens to me driving to and from work. We call it a left lane hog. Or I just say that, hey, they're going out on a picnic out there. But I'm behind them, but I can't pass them up because the traffic in the middle lane is going very, very fast. So I'm stuck behind them, and they're not moving forward. The people ahead of me are getting in the lane. The more people that get in the lane ahead of the slowpoke slows down to leave several car lengths between him and the next car, which then pushes me back. So I got to take a deep breath sometime, count to 10, say a little prayer. So anyway, that happened this morning, and it kind of ripped the first part of my day. So okay, I hope that person enjoyed holding up traffic. So anyway, there's my complaint for the day. So just don't be a left lane hog, please. Anyway, so let's go on to our topic tonight. I've talked about this before, but I want to pose the question to you all again. Have you read a good book lately? But I mean a book. I mean, there's nothing wrong with all kinds of books in general, drama, comedy, adventure. But this book we're going to be talking about tonight sounds very intriguing. It's about a DJ named Aubrey, and he's got a lot of twists and turns in his life. And so that sounds like a very, very good book. In fact, let me bring the title of the book out here for you. Just the title alone sounds good. It's called They Canceled the DJ. Yeah, you read that right. They Canceled the DJ. That should actually intrigue you just by the title alone. And as you can see by the title, it's a novel by Freddy Cruz. And I have him here tonight. He's going to be talking about his writing career and the book that we will give you information on how to order. So let me bring Mr. Cruz on right now. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey!
Hey. Freddie, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show. Glad you're here.
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invite. And I feel like after watching a couple of hours of you in preparation that I want to talk about everything from hoarding to old movies to road rage to I don't know, anything and everything, because this really is the Van Buren Variety Show. And by the way, Bob, the last name, Van Buren, I'm wearing George Washington, which is about as close as we can possibly get to old Martin Van Buren, who I believe, by the way, was the first president that was not born. I think it was the first president not born in England.
That is true.
Maybe, okay, that is the one. Okay, so yeah, I think it's okay. Okay,
very good. You know your history.
You probably know that. You probably know this. Was it Austria?
No, it was Ooh,
Hungary.
it was somewhere in there. Yeah,
It's a
Hungary.
van.
It's in there somewhere, Central Europe. Yeah, but you're
Yeah.
right. He was not born in England. You are right about that.
Yeah. So there you
So,
go.
but hey, you know what? That works out perfect because you got a George Washington shirt on, and I have the Martin Van Buren name. And George Washington was president one, and
Yeah.
Martin Van Buren was the 8th president. So see, there's the lucky 7 in between there. See?
And you're an overachiever, man. I mean, you knew he was the 8th one. People don't even know that Martin Van Buren was a president. If you ask the average American, actually, the average American probably doesn't even know. And I don't mean to bag on people. I'm just saying I mean, they've done this on late night TV shows. It's like one of the oldest bits in town where they go and ask who the vice president is, and nobody knows. So I guarantee you, you'll go in any state. We're both in Texas. You're in Dallas. I'm in
Mhm.
the greater Houston area, technically Richmond. But you go any state in the union, and there will be at least a handful of people who don't know who the vice president is. And we're not talking about like little kids who don't know, who actually shouldn't, being engaged in that kind of stuff. No. And then
Well,
you'll
I
find,
can.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, but you'll find countries where they know all about everything, and they'll know who the Senate Majority Leader is, the House
The
Minority
prime
Leader.
minister, whoever they have, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they've done that. I've seen it for the past 20 years. I think it's called Waters World, or there's a place. I think it's Jimmy Kimmel even has a segment like that where
Hmm.
this. I remember it all the way from George W. Bush, and then Barack Obama, and then Donald Trump, and then Joe Biden. They will ask people when these presidents were in office, who is the vice president of whoever's in office? The silence is deafening. I'm like, come on,
This
you
is
know.
simple. These people are on TV all the time. Who won the Civil War? I don't know. England?
Oh, well, they actually had that. They asked one time. They asked a lady, "Who did we fight? America. Who did we fight in World War II? The Confederacy?" I'm just like, we're gone. We're
Yeah.
gone. What do you do? But
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I'm a little overachiever, like you said. I am a history buff. I love history. I read history.
Yeah.
I live history. In fact, here's a book right here. I'll show you. I want to promote your book, of course. I bought this at a garage sale. It's a pre-1970 history book. So it tells a lot of details that you don't see in modern history books. So I bought this little book at a garage sale for 50 cents. It's got a wealth of knowledge in it. So.
Okay, so what do you consider to be the modern era of the Union? And then I'll give my answer.
The modern Union?
No, the modern era of the Union. So like modern United States. Like for you, in your opinion, not so much, what academia says, but according to Bob, what do you think is the modern era?
The modern era, I'd have to go back to the 1940s, actually, because we were in the midst of a World War II.
Mm-hmm.
We had just gotten through the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you said modern era, but I almost talk about, I think that goes hand in hand with the Industrial Revolution. Because I think after the 40s, especially after the war was over, we saw just an economic boom. There were houses, suburbia everywhere. Cars were already invented, but 20 years before, but they were just rolling off the assembly line left and right. And so I'm thinking, they call it the greatest generation. And what I've read, I'm not saying the 1940s didn't have problems, of course, but I think the 1940s I don't think it was the only modern era, but I think that was the beginning of progress.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion of that then?
I kind of want to go toward, like what you said with the Industrial Revolution, but also I almost feel like the Great Depression was the start of it. But then there's a part of me that's like, well, no, I think the modern era, if you're going to say modern, you have to go to right when all the boundaries were renegotiated and there was the quote new world order post World War II. And so then starts the Cold War and
Yes.
all of that, all the Korean War, everything. And then,
Gulf War.
the Gulf War, but then you have, short, just decades after the moon landing and all the, it's so crazy to me though. And as a fan of history, you would appreciate this. It's crazy to me how the majority of the history of the world is all poverty, squalor, war, conquest,
Disease.
disease, famine. And it was this one group of perfectly imperfect people who just basically stood up and said, nah, man, we're good. We're going to do our own thing.
Right.
And then the strongest army in the world is like, no, peasants, you're not. And then we're like, yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. And so just for that, and you know, we can argue and debate about how old the earth is or how long people have been, you know, walking earth. Some people say hundreds of thousands of years, billions of years, whatever. It's so regardless, if it's 100, for argument's sake, 100,000 years,
Okay.
we've only been, humanity has only been free for about an hour.
Yeah, then that's just a good guess. I mean, that's just a good guesstimate,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, we are just, you know, it's hasn't happened that much. You know, we haven't been here that long, you know. So yeah, it's amazing kind of what's happened and kind of how humans in general have shaped it. Not always for the good, not always for the bad, but I guess we're kind of middle of the road there.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Because you think about all of the technology that has come out of the 20th century, but then you also have all of the blood and gore and violence and just human rights violations. And we
Absolutely.
don't have to talk about just World War II. We could talk about, you know, the communism in Africa and socialism in Africa. We can talk about the killing fields. We can talk Mao and his what is it, the Cultural Revolution. We could talk about Ceausescu in the 90s.
Fidel Castro.
Castro. Yeah, I mean, it's you could just, it runs the gamut. Then when you put it that way, you're like, wow, what good did we accomplish?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I look at all these, you know, the people that just, it seems like, and not want to get too off topic, but there's just so many people that just seem like they delight in making other people miserable. For example, the biggest example is Adolf Hitler, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. Benito Mussolini right behind it.
Yeah.
You know, Joseph Stalin and Pol Pot from Cambodia.
Yeah.
Ho Chi Minh, Fidel Castro. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. And I'm thinking, why do these people feel good about doing harm to other people? I don't get the cruelty. I mean, I'm glad I don't get it, but I don't understand why there was so much aggressive people, you know, just dictatorships like that. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I could talk history.
We could do that.
Well, I can go all evening, man. I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. You want to talk about
we have to bring you back on the show. We'll just talk about history. That sounds like a good idea.
All right, man.
But now we talked about the history book, but I want to talk about this interesting book, which was done by you, sir. So let's kind of get into the prehistory of this book. So how long have you been an author? How long have you been writing? Or let me rephrase that. When did you get interested in writing?
Well, I first got into writing when I was in high school a long, long time ago.
Okay.
Like going on probably 28 years, I think. Whatever 46 minus 18 is.
Okay. All right.
28 years. There you go. So yeah, I wrote for the yearbook staff and you know,
really?
it was cool. And then I majored in marketing, took 8 years to get a 4-year degree while working in radio. I did a lot of copywriting in radio, a lot of copywriting. And then I just decided one night when my kids and I were at Barnes and Noble, they're like, Dad, you should write a book. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I should.
Just like that, huh?
Yeah, it was just like that. And I go, well, I mean, when you have kids and they are of an impressionable age, they were in that tween phase. And so I think when a kid challenges you, and it's your kids, your daughters challenge you,
your own, yeah.
I'm not going to back down. Well, and then it got to be the honeymoon phase for them wore off, but I was adamant about finishing it. So this was back in March, And so I wrote the manuscript for my first book, When America Fell Silent, in about 6 months. And then
6 months. Oh, wow.
yeah. So I wrote that and cleaned it up from Labor Day to the end of the year, and then decided that, okay, I'm stuck. I know something's wrong, and I'm not going to put something out there with my name. So I need to get some help.
So you were your own worst critic, sounds like.
I was my own worst critic, and while I was writing this manuscript, I was listening to podcasts about the craft of writing.
Mhm.
I was reading books, fiction books, and then watching YouTube videos about the craft of writing. And so, yeah, I just want to make sure that I had it right. And so getting a developmental editor was imperative to making sure that all the plot holes were filled and making
Absolutely.
sure that the character development was on par. And then for continuity purposes, because you don't want to be like in 2041 and then like 2 chapters later, the date is 2039. So there are little continuity mistakes.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're typing it, and that first book was typed out. I now write longhand, but
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah. So it's just when you got the stream of conscious thing going, you don't think about it's as and as crass as it sounds, you want to vomit the words out. You just get the thoughts out as they're coming out, and then when you're in that flow state, your subconscious is turned on. And so you're not thinking about perfection. You're doing the thing and getting the raw ideas out there. So that's what that's about. And then so this one came. This one, they canceled the DJ. Yes, there you go. It's a beautiful cover.
I love it. Thank you.
I didn't do it.
You did?
I did not do that one.
Oh, you know what? You're not the only one. Maybe you could explain this to me.
Yeah.
I've had other authors on this show talking about their book, and every one of them will say, I didn't do the artwork. I didn't do that. So now maybe you can explain, how come authors don't do their own artwork? Can you explain that?
Well, I'm not a cover artist.
Oh, okay. That's it.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you, though, there's a software called or an app, a graphic design app called Canva. So like Canvas minus the S.
Never heard of it. Okay.
Canva. Oh, dude. Yeah. So you can create custom like templates, book covers. And I mean, if you're an indie author and you want to skip the gatekeeper and you have what you think is a great solid idea, you owe it to your soul to get that story out. Don't wait on somebody who is going to hold their thumb down on your idea.
That's true.
Who's going to keep their boot on the neck of what you should be releasing out in the world. If you really believe in your heart of hearts, and not just, oh, I'd love to have a book. No, you are wrestling with these characters in the middle of the night and they won't let you sleep. If you're taking a walk with the dog on a Sunday morning and it's an hour later and you've got what you think and what you know in your heart is a great protagonist or a villain or somebody, you owe it to your soul and to the potential readers. There may only be 10 in the first year your book is out, or there could be 10,000. Who knows? Who cares? Yeah. Write the story. Write the story.
Right. I agree with you. Well, let's talk about the book itself. The title is They Canceled the DJ. So, yeah, there it is. You can show it again. So, do you have knowledge or experience in a DJ? How did you become to write about a DJ?
Absolutely. I am a former top 40 radio host.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, and I got off track there. So thank you for reining me back in. But yeah, so the book is about an industry, an ode to the industry I once loved. And
I used to work in that industry too. So
all right. A fellow radio guy. Yeah. So the story is it's inspired by actual events. My friend Tyler, who is no longer in Houston, but he is in Kansas City doing his thing.
Oh, wow.
this was pre-COVID, and he met a woman backstage at a music festival who he thought he was hitting it off with.
Okay.
And with this woman, they were getting along, and he thought, maybe I'm going to score some digits. Turns out backstage at this festival, it might have been ACL. Be that as it may, she ends up ditching him for a musician.
Oh, broke his heart.
I know. Wah, wah, wah. So, we heard the story, and then I thought to myself, I could make that situation worse.
Based on his misery, right?
Based on his misery, his pain, my gain. But yeah,
he knows this, right? He knows you wrote this book.
He absolutely knows it. He knows that if the book ever gets turned into a Netflix series or a Hulu series, that he's going to make a cameo. Like, I've already promised him that. I've already promised. I put that out there. I even tagged Netflix. Hello, Netflix. But yeah, so
you added to the story, though, the drama, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and the book actually has nothing to do. So the situation was literally morphed into something completely different and way worse than what happened to him.
The main character's name is Aubrey.
Yeah.
And so just without telling the details of the book, we want people to buy the book. But
sure.
What kind of character is Aubrey? How would you describe Aubrey in the book? What kind of his personality or whatever?
Aubrey is a lovable, I don't want to say lovable loser, but that's the first
thing. You can
say
that. There's such things as that.
Yeah, I mean, he's not good with women, but he meets his missus. He meets who he wants to be Mrs. Right, but she's Miss Right now, and she's Miss Right now who will leave him in about, like, I don't know, less than 6 months. But they meet at a radio. Yeah, they meet at a radio event, and this being a former disc jockey yourself, you don't date listeners. You just don't do it.
That is a lesson learned. I never did do that, but I almost got roped into it, and luckily I was smart enough to say no. Because they say that, oh, I'm a fan, or I just want to put a name, face with the name. Yeah. But you got to, if there are any DJs watching out here, and new DJs, you don't want to get into that. No. Trust it. Take me and Freddy's advice here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so he meets Bobby with an I, and they hit it off at this station event, and some things happen. He ends up going viral for a certain incident, and but she gives him a chance, and their shenanigans and tomfoolery and crazy kooky antics, and they end up hitting it off, and he ends up taking her to a concert with the fictional character who is the world's greatest musician, River Bronswell. And if you can picture for a minute, Shawn Mendes, his birthday was yesterday. Shawn Mendes meets Ed Sheeran, but with a little more muscles. Well, Shawn Mendes is actually kind of built.
A big guy.
He started when he was 16, so yeah, he's a little more. So picture a muscular, like that type of music. And his ukulele is like the key, like that's like his shtick. So he's tatted up, muscles, plays the ukulele, and
tiptoe through the tulips, huh?
Yeah, there you go, man. And she ditches AC for River Bronswell on stage before thousands, and the rest of the story is
ultimate humiliation,
misery.
Wow, it sounds like, man, you've got a great story there. And
thank you.
I shouldn't make fun of your friend, but I just think it's kind of funny that you built it on his heartbreak. Yeah. I'm glad he's taking it in stride, though. I'm glad he's.
Oh yeah. Well, and he's had, he's a proud bachelor, and we love him. He's my bro. I actually killed him in the first book. Because what good is it having friends if you don't murder them in your novel?
Exactly. I can hear him now. Thanks, bud. Yeah.
I mean, hey, look, dude. I mean, what good is it to have? Are you really friends with a novelist if they won't kill you in their stories. I mean,
Exactly. What kind of friend is that?
what
Right.
kind of friend doesn't kill you? If you're gonna have a look, all right. If there are any writers listening, you owe it to your friends. You owe it to your best friends. Maybe not all your friends, but your closest friends to murder them brutally in a book.
Well, I can almost relate. I wrote a play, a stage play,
Very
and
cool.
but I wrote it on a real life event, a former job that I had decades ago. And long story short, I had a bad manager, and instead of getting mad about him, and he was just a tyrant, I wrote a play, but it was a satire where I made the character in the book model after him a complete imbecile, incompetent. I mean, a complete moron. And you know what? That gave me fuel. That's where I channeled my anger. The more
Yeah.
I can make this character so stupid, I'm like, okay, I'm getting back in a way. I was just type. I need to publish that thing. I haven't done it yet. So
You really should, man. I mean, that's great. And that's one of the beauties of storytelling is that you get to exercise that shadow. And maybe it's not writing a horror, it's writing a satire where
hmm
you're lampooning somebody who you don't know. And it's that's something. You know, and going back to American history, Abe Lincoln did something called hot letters, which will be the equivalent of writing a nasty tweet or a nasty email. But
I've
then he
never heard of
wrote
that.
oh, yeah,
And let me know what was. You mean he wrote his feelings in these letters, hot letters?
a hot letter. So
Mm.
Bob Van Buren pisses him off. Sorry,
Oh, cool.
makes him livid. You know what, Bob? 4 score and 7 years ago, I need you to kiss my rear. And then instead of mailing it, crumbles it up and throws it away.
Oh wow! I'd say that you told me something I didn't know about history. So wow, I have to research that. So yeah, but that was, I guess you could say, Abe Lincoln then made the first mean tweet then, right?
Probably, and just unsent it. The beauty back then when there was no technology is you couldn't accidentally send it.
That's true. That's true. Well, let's go on. Talk about your book now. That sounds very intriguing. I'm going to order one myself, but let's just say the people who are watching this live, or even those that watch days, weeks, months after this fact, they're interested in this book like I am, what
Thank
you've
you.
described. So how would they order this book? Where would they see, what sites do you have the book at? Or
Sure,
bookstores?
I've got it on Amazon. The Kindle version
Amazon.
is free if you have Kindle Unlimited. So that's one of the perks of having something like that is that you get all of these books for free. Of course, you can get mine. And something you talked about with last week's guest, DC, is
hmm
leaving a review. And look, I'm not going to beg anybody for a good review. I'm just saying that when
It
you leave
helps.
a review of any kind, a well thought out, like more than 3 sentence review, it pushes up, it pushes the title up in the algorithms and makes it, makes it more discoverable. So there's a lot of truth to that, and that's why a lot of authors, especially indie authors, will tell you, hey, please, 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 if this story meant anything to you, please do us a favor and if you want to do your whether I mean it could be me, it could be DC, it could be heck, it could be
Anybody. Yeah.
anybody,
Mhm.
Carolyn Kepnes, it could be Chuck Palahniuk, it could be E.L. James and 50 Shades of Grey if you haven't read that one
Anybody.
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but leave a thoughtful more than 2 or 3 sentence long review and it helps. So
So, ladies and gentlemen, remember that if you buy Freddie's book and you like it, make sure you go back to Amazon or wherever you got and leave a review because that really helps him out as well. I'm going to ask you about the book. This book. Now, some people write, sequels, or it's like the book 1 of 6. Is this going to be a standalone book, or are you going to write Is there going to be like a sequel or a spinoff to this book?
I've thought about a sequel. I don't know. I
Still in the
feel
works.
yeah, I've I feel like I ended the story with AC in a good place.
Okay.
In fact, and I love both of my books. Excuse me, I love both of my books. I just I feel like the last chapter of this book
hmm
is um is one of the strongest chapters of anything that I've ever written.
So you pretty much tied up all the loose ends.
I
What you're
tied
saying?
up loose ends and it was just it was something. It was yeah, it was just really good. I mean, I
Okay.
just and again it's like with a chef, you're going to always you got to believe in yourself, man. That's how you get places and you got to believe in
Absolutely.
yourself and I believe in the story And yeah, I don't know how many people it's ever going to reach, but I know the people who it has reached, I know have thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly
It
enjoyed.
sounds good.
Thank you. The developmental editing process was, in a word, a nightmare. There were a lot of things to fix up, and so it was really a labor of love. It took a little bit longer to complete the second book than it did When America Fell Silent. Both books, by the way, were not outlined. They were not outlined at
Oh,
all.
wow.
So it's they call it in the writing biz, they call it flying by the seat of your pants. So I'm a pantser. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So when you do something like that and it's not outlined, you do have a lot of plot holes and inconsistencies,
Hmm.
and there are chapters that have to get deleted. So that's where Stephen King's what is it, Kill Your Darlings? That's
Yes.
that's where all of that factors in. You have to be able to let go of some of the chapters, and something can be beautifully written, but if plot wise it doesn't work, you got to get that out, because
Yeah.
you do not want to leave your reader unengaged or unentertained, and then they end
Bored,
up
even, you know?
bored.
Yeah.
Yes. You don't want to do that. The reader is number one. You write for yourself, you edit for your reader, and you got to
Mhm.
make sure that everything is tied up in the end.
I agree. So we talked about your one book called, They Canceled the DJ, but you mentioned your other book. Unfortunately, I don't have the cover, but I am going to put the title up here. It's called When America Fell Silent.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that book? I'm interested too. Is it kind of like the other book, or is this a whole separate
Oh,
subject?
yeah, no, this is a dystopian political thriller,
Oh, I
domestic,
like dystopia.
yeah, overthrow of the government type. Man, it was something. And you talk about kind of wrestling with that shadow. There was a lot going on when I decided, and this was the book that my kids told me to write. Now, not this specifically. This was the idea
The
that
subject, yeah.
this was the subject that I'm like, okay, I'm going to write about that book, or I'm going to write a story like this. So essentially, it follows the story of Elizabeth Ogden, who is the first daughter of Wendell, First Lady Debbie, and Wendell gets assassinated on Inauguration Day, and
Ooh,
his wife dies, and Elizabeth
wow.
barely survives, and she overthrows the government and stages a
Wow.
coup, and
Wow. Interesting.
yeah, and repeals the First Amendment. And as you know, when there's no First Amendment, there's no second, there's no third.
There's nothing.
There's nothing. And so she uses a lot of psychology. She's a very intelligent woman, and she uses a lot of, the kind of like the sheep herder mentality.
Kind of a Joan of Arc type character, I think.
Kind of sort, yeah, kind of sort of, and one of and so there are two rogue generals who are her right, they're her right hand men, and in one of the scenes he talks about the Stanley Milgram experiment. Have you heard about that?
No, I think I've heard that one. You might have
Okay.
to clue
Okay,
me
so
in.
yeah, so the Milgram experiment, and there'll be people who are both sides. They'll say, "Oh, that experiment was, it was poorly executed." Then there are others who, I kind of fall on this side, who are like, "Yeah, that pretty much sums it up." Um,
Mm,
so the Milgram experiment was conducted at Yale, and essentially they were trying to figure out why the Germans were so willing to persecute the Jews. And so what they did was they had Group A and Group B.
mhm.
Group A was administered a shocking device, and they were told that they had to shock Group B. And so
Hmm.
what group what Group A didn't know was that Group B was not really getting shocked, but they were playing along.
Oh,
So it was almost like, I guess, I don't know if this is the right terminology, but placebo, because this is not a medicinal experiment.
Or
It's
desensitizing,
yeah.
desensitizing.
So they're
Yeah.
just yeah. And so let's say Bob is group A and Freddie's on the other side of the glass window, and
Hmm.
I'm begging Bob, please don't shock me. But then Bob and group A is
We
they're
push the
being
button.
threatened with punishment. No,
Oh
you need
wow.
to shock them or else we're going to punish you. We will severely punish you. And then so Bob's like, okay, I'm gonna shock Freddy. Bzz,
Yeah.
bzz. And so Freddy's like, oh wow, okay, so he's gonna shock me. Oh my gosh, no, oh.
There
And so
comes the Academy Award nomination
yeah,
acting.
yeah. So they're
Yeah.
clawing at the windows, apparently, clawing at the glass
Oh
windows,
my gosh.
begging these people to just stop shocking them. And so that's the Milgram experiment, is that yeah,
Uh,
when threatened with punishment, people will do heinous things, including
mm-hmm.
violate human rights on a large
Exactly.
scale. So that was like, so that scene in a nutshell, it doesn't take that long to explain in the book, but yeah, so that was a pivotal scene when it comes to understanding the premise behind what I'm writing, and how Elizabeth and her henchmen were able to pull off this cataclysmic event in near future America.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that up there, ladies and gentlemen. This is another book that Freddy Cruz has written called "When America Fell Silent," and you know, this almost sounds like for people, including me, that we're so sick of politics, specifically partisan politics on either side. So this almost sounds like this is kind of like a punch in the gut for both of them. You know, so
Yeah,
that's how
well,
I would. That's how you're just how I'm picturing it.
yeah. So it was obviously released. It was written in 2018 and edited throughout the latter half of 2018 and the beginning of 2019.
Sure.
So we all know what was happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
we don't have to go there, and I won't.
But see, I
So,
like. I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh no, please go. No, please.
I just said I like stories like this.
Yeah,
You talk about it being kind of a dystopian
yeah,
story. One of the shows I used to watch, and it kind of reminds me of this, although it's a different vein from what your book said. But there was a show on Amazon for about 4 seasons called Man in the High Castle, and I ate that show up because it's a dystopian alternate reality, and don't know if you've seen that or not, but it's just like it's a horror. I'll just tell you, it's a horrifying alternate history of what happened if Germany and Japan won World War II. And
yeah.
so I'm kind of in that dystopian type vein. So this, when America Fell Silent, sounds, it's not the same story, but it sounds the same vein almost, if I can say that.
Yeah. So yeah, and it was really, again, it goes back to kind of doing that shadow work
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, a lot of there were a lot of things that were um, angering me, and so I'm like, you know what? None of you who are just arguing these useless battles on the internet have any idea what a real tyranny is. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know, you have no idea. And I'm going to show you what it's like to live
Mm-hmm.
under a real tyranny. And one of the biggest compliments I got, and I should have had him write it in an Amazon review, but I didn't, was one of my friends who told me that it reminded him of the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who is
Mm-hmm.
credited with overthrowing the Soviet Union with his
Right.
book. And so when he told me that, it reminded him of the Gulag Archipelago, and it made him think, wow, what would I do in that situation? I'm like, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
kind of what I was getting at. And so yeah, it was, but it was a lot of fun. So the good guy is we talk about the bad, the villain, the
Mm-hmm.
villainess, the evilin. It's a team of unlikely allies, so to speak. We got a Navy SEAL. We've got a Green Beret who was maimed in a very horrible way by one of Ogden's henchmen. We've got
Mm-hmm.
a gang member who decides to team up with an FBI agent. So there's a band of a diverse cast of good guys who team up and make things happen. So
It's like a great book. I'd like to also show the audience. You have some good reviews of the book we talked about earlier. They canceled the DJ. I'd like to bring those up as well, especially this one. I'll just read it for those of you that may be looking on iPhones. You can't read that very well, but I'll read it. It says, "Early praise. Cruz's distinct voice elevates the typical anti-hero narrative, crafting an engaging story that refuses to wallow in self-pity, choosing instead to find solace and laughter in life's less than stellar moments." Written by Kimber Fountain, editor-in-chief of the Galveston Monthly. That's a very good review.
thank you.
So you've got some other good reviews too. Let's see if I can bring one other one up. This one came from Kevin Quinn, afternoon host of KRBE. I'll read just kind of part of it. "All at once intense, witty, humorous, and insightful, Cruz's insider knowledge of radio broadcasting has given us a peek behind the curtain into that fascinating and sometimes unpredictable world." So, ladies and gentlemen, if those reviews don't get you to buy the book, nothing will. But I know that I'm going to buy it because I think I'm very, very intrigued. So
that's very kind of you. I'm happy to send you. I've got, as you can see, I've got a stack of copies. I'm more than willing to, I'm more than willing to mail you one.
Sure.
In fact, you know what I'd like to do? I'd love to do actually. I would love to send you a copy, and
I appreciate that.
And I would love to send you a couple of extra ones, signed, obviously. And I want to send you a couple of extras, and people who may be in your loyal viewer club, or if you have,
I have some, yes,
a mailing list or whatever. Yeah, you can track them down and get their address and send them a copy on my behalf. And so, my gift for you and the Van Buren Variety Show viewers, a token of appreciation for your loyalty to my man Bob, who I know will have me back on his show.
Oh, absolutely. We got a lot more to talk about. But on your book, so you've written "When America Fell Silent," and you've written "They Canceled the DJ." Do you have any works that you're working on like right now for future publication, or any ideas?
Yes. So I've got a Christmas thriller that it's actually a mystery that
Christmas thriller.
Yeah, it delves into horror. It's more of a, if I had to say, it's more of a psychological thriller that delves into horror, because it gets,
I'm intrigued.
It gets ugly. It gets really ugly between two of the characters, and well, it's just none of them are likable, but it's
well, that helps.
Yeah. But I mean, what gets me sometimes is that people, I guess when you read reviews of something that is it's not warm fuzzy Green Acres, okay? You're watching something that is that is dark, that's ominous, that is not happy. And they're, oh, well, the characters weren't likable and I didn't care about it. It's like, well, yeah, it's a horror novel.
Who's likable in a horror movie?
Who's likable in a horror novel? I mean, yeah, you don't want the person who gets killed to get killed. Maybe you cheer for them, but I kind of made one of the protagonists, one of the main characters, I made him likable in a way that he's actually more funny. And
you got to add humor into a book like that.
And so that's kind of what makes him, if I had to guess whether or not people will dig him, I think they'll dig his sense of humor and his sarcasm and his observations on things. And so it's basically it's a college kid whose mom she's a single mom who is widowed, and he walks in. So right from chapter 1, he walks in and catches the podcaster in his house. And the podcaster is actually his favorite podcaster, who then is no longer his favorite podcaster. And so mom is trying to like make things work out. Come to find out, the podcaster was involved somehow with his dad's death.
What a twist that is.
Something happened that night involving a radio stunt because this guy's a podcaster but a retired radio guy.
Mm-hmm.
Something he did ended up having to do with the reason why
His father
his dad
died.
passed
Oh,
away. Yeah.
wow.
So there's some twists and turns, and so he's hell bent
Sounds
on
good.
revenge and wants to get back. And it's funny because you know, when America Fell Silent, Elizabeth's parents, they died. And
Mm-hmm.
so in this one, the dad's dead. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out exactly what is going on in my, in my subconscious that
Well,
that
you don't want people to get attached, to the characters. If I can go back to the
sure.
1960 film, I love classic films, by the way, as you know. In the 1960 film Psycho, and if whoever hasn't seen this movie, plug your ears up. I'm going to give some of the details away. So, the 1960 Hitchcock movie Psycho with what was it, Anthony Perkins?
Yes.
The lead star that time was Janet Leigh, and she was at the time a top billed actress. And
Mhm.
they had her top bill. What you don't know is that 15 minutes into the movie, she dies. And so, in other words, the people were already rooting for this character to survive, and then Hitchcock just eliminates her. So I think that kind of way is kind of what you're doing. In other words, don't get attached to a character because you might lose them, or they
Yeah.
might turn rogue on you. In my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And part of what I don't know that I don't know that it's something I seek to accomplish, but I want I kind of want to toy around with the idea that people um, are going to end up rooting for this guy who is doing some really terrible things to this guy. And it makes you, I guess, if anybody has ever experienced Schadenfreude, you know,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
uh, reveling in somebody's misery or reveling in somebody's downfall, uh,
mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of that I think that the reader is going to experience. And so what I kind of wanted to want to do, and I hesitate to say this because I want every reader who reads this book to I want it to be I want it to be I don't want to impose anything on the reader because I want them to take away what they're going to take away. But I
Mm-hmm.
guess as a writer, I wrestled around with, well, golly, Lex, the podcaster, is doing this thing with this guy's mom, and he's married. And so he's trying to have a relationship with this guy's mom, but this guy is wanting to decimate his life. And at what point do you say, maybe we should just let it go? Or, you know, I want to make this guy's
Payback.
life, I want to make this guy's life trash. I'm going to kick him when he's down. I'm going to wreck his life. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And I'm saying this, that, and the other because I don't want to give away any of the
Yeah,
plot.
well, pretty
But
much it's karma. I guess
yeah,
that was.
yeah, yeah. And so it's how much as a writer, how much I enjoy just ruining everybody's lives. And so well, and I think that's the mark of something that's an engaging story,
Absolutely.
and it
I
could be
agree with you.
it could be a good story, it could be a great story, it could be a bad story, it could be, maybe I don't know. There are going to be things that different people will take away. As with any book,
Hmm.
and that could go for nonfiction or poetry for all that,
Yeah,
or a
absolutely.
play. Um, so yeah, it's just I was toying around with the idea of karma and Schadenfreude
Yeah.
and and really just how bad do you want revenge and at what cost?
It
Um,
almost sounds like that Gerard Butler film. Do you remember Law Abiding Citizen?
that's one of the very few Gerard Butler movies I haven't seen.
That has, I won't give it away because you haven't seen it, probably a lot of people, but it's full of karma. Yeah,
Okay.
I will say it's a revenge movie. And you don't know, he's kind of, I won't give it away, but Gerard Butler's kind of he's an anti-hero, I guess
Yeah.
you could say. You don't know, do you approve of what he's doing? Do you not approve? Can you see it from his point of view? So yeah, watch Law Abiding Citizen, because it almost sounds like what you're describing. But on this book you're talking about, this horror Christmas story, do you have an anticipated release date, or is it still in the works, or where are you on this?
I do have an anticipated release date. It is 99% done.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So yeah, there are just some finishing touches, and we're going to do another round of another line by line round. I believe it is for the most part finished. The release
Oh,
date
great.
is November the 8th.
November 8th, 2022. Mark that on your calendars, folks.
Oh, and the title
Yeah,
is,
ask you about that. Yeah.
it is Allow Me to Ruin Your Christmas.
Oh, you got right to the point, don't you?
Yeah.
Allow me to ruin your Christmas. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I think I'm good and I'll leave it to readers to decide whether or not the story is good. At the very least, I think that I am good at creating titles. So I don't know. Maybe if the author thing doesn't work out, I can work for one of the big five and title books.
There it is, right there. That's the name of the book.
And here, let's see if I can pull up real quick. I know I'm on my phone.
Now, let me ask you: are you self-published, or do you have a publisher?
Yeah, I am an indie author and do not work with the big five. Not to say that I wouldn't. And I'm going to hold up. I don't know what the lighting is. Oh yeah, the lighting is not very good.
Can't really see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see kind of a little bit. Yeah.
Kind of. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this right here, for people watching, you really can't make it out, but that's that's somebody with a mask and a hoodie.
Ooh.
And so this right here is the Christmas tree. And yeah, so that's, yeah.
November 2022. November 8th is what you said, right?
Yeah, November 8th, 2022. How do you do that all at once? You're obviously a radio guy. Adjusting the mic level, playing the song, fading down.
Well, at least I can do a webcast. I don't have to talk like this, where it's sunny skies right now, partly cloudy and 73 degrees, and traffic right now on the interstate. So be careful out there. So luckily, I don't have to talk like this anymore.
Oh,
I still got it.
Absolutely, man. Well, hey, listen, this is fun. I got to ask you, what format did you work?
Well, I worked for a little country AM station for a while.
Okay.
That's when they still played music on the AM station. I won't tell you how many long ago that was. And I gave news even. I gave special announcements, and was there almost a year. And then there was a competing FM station in a nearby city. So like, I want to go big time. So I went to FM for a while and did news there. I did special announcements and played music, of course. And, you know, a lot of DJs, maybe you know this, but maybe they can't because they know they're really busy. But someone would call into the station and make a request. They wanted to hear a certain song. Well, I would go all out to find that song. I mean, whether it was on CD, whether it was on tape or wherever. I mean, I would dig through stuff to play it. And well, I got more people calling me. And they're like, you know what? And more than one person would call me up when I'd be on the air, whatever my shift was. Bob, we like that because when we make requests, you play it right then. You don't make us wait for hours, or don't even play it. So I got a lot of feedback that way. So I'm like, well, if someone wants to hear a song, they want to hear it now. They don't want to hear it 5 hours from now, you know, and then forget about it. I even had a lady one time, short story. She wanted to hear a certain song. Like, okay. And she actually said, well, wait about 10 minutes to play it. I'm like, wait 10 minutes? Goes, that way I can get my cassette tape in there and push record about the time you start playing it. So I deliberately got on the air and said, and now next up on the station is da-da-da-da. So I picture her in the back of her mind hitting record.
Yeah. So you can now hit play on your mixtape and go.
Go. I should have said that. The lady that called, hit record now.
Oh gosh, yeah. No.
I realize I just aged myself with talking about tapes, but what do you do? So.
Yeah, well, I will say that when I first started in radio, it was the tail end of having to edit phone calls with a reel-to-reel, and I did my first full-time gig was a night show, and I would edit with the wax pencil. And
yes, gosh. I can relate. The cartridge tape, the commercial tape. Do you work with cartridges?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Again, this is like we're and that's the beauty of, I'm sure you're Gen X. I'm Gen X too. There's the beauty of
I'm
Gen
Gen
X
X.
that we get the old technology. We have no technology, but then we have all the new stuff. So we get the best of all the worlds. Okay. Funny story. That's actually, it's funny now, but this is a DJ before my previous employer, KRBE. So this guy quit, and then he took all of the carts, the commercial carts, and ran them over the magnetic strip and erased them and put them back.
Oh, out of because he was just disenchanted with the job.
He was
Oh,
he was done with it. He was done with it. Now I forget whether or not
yeah. I remember those
he.
little magnetic thing. You just erase it and it's gone.
Yeah,
Or with a
yeah.
little.
So yeah, and
Oh no.
for non-radio people watching this, it's literally a magnetic belt, like when you go to the grocery
Yes.
store. And so you put the picture 8-track cassette tapes, and you run them
Wipe it over.
and it
It's
erases
gone.
all the data. It's
Gone
gone
forever.
forever. Yeah.
Wow.
And, and so I forget whether or not he quit because something bad happened, or if he got fired, because I wasn't there. I heard the story and thought it was hilarious. Now, of course, it was not hilarious at the time. And we're talking about people's ad money. So, yeah.
Well, one of the secrets that we had, maybe you can relate, we had, here I go, aging myself, a 45 record. On one side was the regular version, the top 40 version, which is 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
If you flipped it over, it was the extended version, which was about 7 to 8 minutes long. Everybody knew that if you put that record on, guess where you're going? You're in the bathroom, and you want to make sure that song is long enough and plays long enough to give you enough time to go to the bathroom. So even, I know when I put the record on, I'm like, everybody in the studio that I work with knows what I'm doing. And I hear it. I listen sometimes to other DJs, and they put that record on. I'm like, I know what they're doing right now. So we would deliberately play the extended version just to give us time to get in and out of the bathroom. So that was one of our secrets.
Yeah, man. Yeah, good times, right?
Oh, wow. Well, Freddie, it's been great having you on. Let me put your book back up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a book by Freddy Cruz called They Canceled the DJ. Go to Amazon and order your copy right now. Again, it has to deal with a character named Aubrey, and the poor luck this guy has in the book. But so hopefully, this is a character we can root for, though, can't we?
Yeah, we can root for him. I think we can root for him. He's an anti-hero. He's an anti-hero I think you can love.
Kind of like Deadpool, maybe, in a way, the anti-hero.
Yeah.
Well, Freddie, again, thank you for being on the show. Definitely want to have you back. I think we could talk about history a lot too next time.
Yeah, man. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I really appreciate the invite. And please, if you need anyone to fill in a slot for you, you've got my information. Send me an email. Send Mickey an email. The man with the digital the man with the digital business card.
Yeah, he does, and that he's going to
Brighton
set me
says.
up with you. Yes, so I appreciate Mickey's contribution as well.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just leave it right there with They Canceled the DJ. I want to promote your upcoming book, ladies and gentlemen, and you're reading that right. Allow Me to Ruin Your Christmas is the name of the book. So that's not just a saying. And that's coming out in November 2022. So if you like books, from what I'm hearing, if you like books about karma or revenge and payback, this just might be your forte right here. And that's November, right, for 2022.
Yes, sir. November 8th.
Okay.
Pre-orders now. So if you want to pre-order and you have it downloaded straight to your Kindle, it'll get up there and bam.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Freddie, I've had a great time. Again, I'd love to have you back on the show. And especially when you have this book published, the new book, love to have you back on, talk about that. And we'll talk about, we'll go through our little history thing again if you want.
Dude, I'll do a book club with you, man. I don't care. I'll do whatever. You tell me when to show up, homie. I'll be there.
Okay. Right. I'll talk to you later. Oh, by the way, just want to get comments from the live audience. Sandra says, "Thank you, Freddy Cruz. Good show."
Thank you, Sandra.
And so let's see.
Oh, by the way, Piper
yes,
is one of the characters in the upcoming book.
Did you hear that, Sandra? Piper, there's a character named Piper
There
in the
is a character.
upcoming book, in the
There
Christmas
is.
book. So
She is
you might want to look
obsessed
at
with
that.
Santa Claus.
Are you obsessed with Santa Claus, Sandra? Are you like that character too? And then we have another comment. We were talking about radio earlier.
Yeah.
They Know Jim says, this generation will never know the run to your AM FM radio to press record so you can record your favorite music. That is so right, Jim.
That is. That is.
Okay, well, again, Freddie, thank you for being on the show. Wish you
Yeah.
the best of luck with your book, and would love to
Thank
talk
you.
to you again soon.
This is a lot of fun. See ya.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for tonight for the Van Buren Variety Show. Certainly glad you're here. Had a great guest as always. And as you know, in the Variety Show, this is just what you get. It's variety. It might be a person's profession. It could be their hobby. They might have a how-to segment, how to make something. And we might even have some musical guests coming up. And I know I promised this before, but I am working on a spinoff of this show. It'll still be Van Buren, but there's going to be another segment in a completely different direction than this show. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit it. And if you like this episode, make sure you hit the like button, because I know that I, as well as Freddie, would appreciate that. So we will be back next Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. Eastern with another interesting guest and another interesting topic. This is Bob Van Buren for the Van Buren Variety Show. Good night, everybody.